The Galactic Council was an imposing body representing the most powerful and advanced species in the universe. Every race that sat around the enormous table had mastered technologies far beyond the reach of Earth's primitive inhabitants. As the council members gathered, they were discussing the newest addition to their galaxy-wide database, Earth, a planet located in the distant corner of the Milky Way, home to a species that still struggled with basic space travel. The idea of humans being a threat to anyone, let alone to the most advanced civilizations, seemed laughable. Humans, primitive creatures who can barely even leave their own atmosphere. They're nothing more than a curiosity. One of the council members, a tall reptilian being from the Varnax system, remarked, his voice dripping with disdain. The others in the room laughed, echoing his sentiment. Earth was still a backwater planet, insignificant in the grand scale of the galaxy. No one had seriously considered humanity a threat for centuries. The idea that these humans, who had only recently discovered fire and built rudimentary machines, could ever pose any danger to the technologically superior alien races was absurd. A hologram of Earth appeared in the center of the room, rotating slowly. The representatives leaned forward, some pointing, others discussing the primitive technology. Their laughter echoed in the vast chamber. It was clear they had no respect for the human race. But the laughter quieted when a new voice spoke. The humans may be weak now, said a voice cold and harsh, but their resilience is something to be admired. The speaker was General Voltaire, a fearsome alien from the warlike Cyrix Federation. Voltaire's race had conquered planets and wiped out entire civilizations without mercy. His reputation for ruthless conquest was well known. The council members exchanged glances, momentarily silenced by the general's words. Despite the alien arrogance in the room, Voltaire's words carried weight. He had never failed in his missions. Why waste resources on Earth? One of the council members asked, still amused. They'll fall within days of any real invasion. Perhaps, Voltaire said, his voice deepening. But if you truly believe they are not worth our time, I will prove it to you. I will wipe them out, swiftly and decisively. If they are as insignificant as you think, it will be an easy task. If not, we will have a stronger opponent than any we have faced before. The council nodded, intrigued by his challenge. They had long dismissed Earth, and Voltaire's reputation was enough to convince them to approve the mission. With a swift motion, the council approved the invasion, choosing Voltaire to lead the assault. He was tasked with eradicating humanity, once and for all. The screen flickered as Voltaire's fleet began to cloak itself, disappearing into the depths of space. The alien forces prepared for a swift invasion, planning to strike Earth's cities and force humanity into submission. Voltaire's fleet, enormous and intimidating, moved silently through space, preparing to make its descent. As Voltaire's fleet cloaked itself, a feeling of unease rippled through the command room. Even the most advanced alien technology couldn't escape the unexpected. Earth was still largely unknown to these invaders. Despite all their tech, no one had predicted how the humans would react, or what Earth itself would do. As the fleet descended into Earth's atmosphere, the force of the invasion was devastating. Alien ships appeared from the cloaking field, hovering above Earth's cities. Their weapons fired, and Earth's defenses crumbled under the power of their advanced weaponry. The world's major cities were struck with powerful energy blasts, sending shockwaves throughout the planet. Buildings crumbled, and entire sections of cities turned to rubble. Humans tried to resist, but their technology was no match for the alien onslaught. Just as the alien General Voltaire prepared to give the order for a final strike, something unexpected happened. A strange storm began to form above Earth's surface. It wasn't a regular storm. It was something different. A violent, swirling tempest that seemed to have appeared out of nowhere, with no warning. The energy waves in the storm interfered with the alien ship's cloaking systems, and their movements became erratic. "What is this?" Voltaire shouted as his ship shook, his view of Earth becoming blurred. His fleet had expected a quick, overwhelming victory, But the storm, combined with the intense gravity of Earth, began to mess with their calculations. Earth's gravity, something no one had expected to be so relevant, started to take its toll. The aliens, so used to their lightweight home planets, struggled to adjust. Their bodies, designed for weaker gravitational pulls, began to falter under Earth's stronger gravity. Voltaire's fleet began to lose control, and some of the alien soldiers stumbled as they tried to land. At first, the aliens tried to shake it off, thinking it was just a minor glitch in their technology. But then they realized something far more troubling. Their soldiers were no longer able to move with the same speed and precision they were used to. "What's happening?" one of the alien commanders asked, barely able to keep his balance as his body grew heavier under Earth's gravity. Voltaire himself struggled to stay standing as the weight of Earth's gravity pressed against his body. The alien general, whose species had never known anything like this, felt his limbs shaking. He looked out the window and watched in disbelief as his soldiers, powerful beings accustomed to dominating weaker worlds, staggered under the pressure. "Impossible," Voltaire muttered under his breath. "This cannot be. How can this planet do this to us?" He turned to his commanders, his eyes filled with confusion and fury. "Adjust the gravity systems now. Get control of your forces." The alien ships began to adjust their own gravitational settings, but it was too late. The damage had already been done. The soldiers on the ground struggled to keep up with their mission. Even with their advanced weaponry and shields, they couldn't perform with the same efficiency they were known for. Their movements were sluggish, and their technology started to malfunction in ways they hadn't prepared for. Humans, small and seemingly weak compared to these invaders, began to realize that Earth's gravity was the key. It was a force that even the most advanced alien species in the galaxy could not easily overcome. The suspense reached its peak as the alien forces struggled to adapt, and Earth's defenders, though outgunned, began to see a glimmer of hope. "What's happening to them?" a human soldier asked, watching the aliens lose their balance. "Earth's gravity," came the reply. "They never stood a chance." Voltaire, seeing his forces falter and realizing the true power of Earth's environment, finally understood the threat humans posed. It wasn't their technology, it wasn't their weapons or ships, it was the planet itself, its gravity that had made all the difference. As the screen zoomed out, showing the disarray in the alien ranks, one question hung in the air. Could Earth's gravity turn the tide for humanity? The earth-shattering blasts from alien weapons reverberated across the skies. Cities once full of life were now engulfed in smoke and fire. The alien invasion had begun. As the massive ships descended through Earth's atmosphere, their cloaking technology failed to protect them. The storm that had rattled their systems earlier was now joined by the planet's heavy gravitational pull, which further disrupted their advanced cloaking shields. In what seemed like an instant, the alien fleet dropped out of invisibility, now visible to the world. The aliens, powerful and prepared for battle, were now disoriented. Within minutes, several of their ships began to plummet uncontrollably, crashing into the Earth's surface with deafening booms. A few landed in the ocean, while others scattered across major cities, creating a disaster zone. Alien soldiers, unprepared for such a violent descent, were thrown into disarray. The atmosphere, heavier than anything they'd encountered before, made it difficult for them to perform even the most basic movements. Their advanced suits, designed for lighter environments, malfunctioned under the strain of Earth's gravitational force. The city streets, once filled with normal daily activity, were now alive with the sounds of destruction. Alien soldiers had landed, but they were sluggish and disoriented. Some were on the ground, struggling to get up, while others had trouble aiming their weapons. But despite their initial confusion, the aliens quickly began to regroup. They adjusted their technology, trying to adapt to the harsh environment. But it was clear to anyone watching, their superiority had been challenged by Earth's gravity. In the midst of this chaos, a group of survivors was fighting back. Captain Alex Carter, a battle-hardened soldier, led the resistance. His face was grim, eyes scanning the streets where explosions and fires lit up the night. He had seen war, but never anything like this. The aliens were technologically superior in almost every way, but they were not prepared for Earth. Carter understood that Earth's gravity was their weakness, and it was time to use it to their advantage. Carter's team, a group of highly trained soldiers, had already witnessed the strange way the alien troops struggled to move under Earth's gravity. They saw how their weapons, so deadly on their home planets, slowed when they aimed at their targets. With each moment that passed, the alien forces lost a little more of their edge. "We have to hit them where it hurts," Carter ordered. His voice was calm but firm. "Get to the underground lab now." His team followed him as they ran through the debris-ridden streets, avoiding the occasional alien patrol. Their mission was clear. They needed to find a way to exploit the gravity field further, to build on the advantage Earth had. As they moved deeper into the city, Carter realized something. This wasn't just about surviving. It was about taking Earth back. The underground lab, once a place for scientific research, was now a makeshift command center. Scientists worked feverishly to understand Earth's gravity and how it affected the invaders. Carter and his team burst into the room, their presence a reminder that they were racing against time. A countdown was already in progress. The aliens would stop at nothing to complete their mission. "We've been analyzing their movements," Dr. Sarah Mitchell, one of the leading scientists, said, looking up from her work. "We've discovered that their suits and technology are malfunctioning because of the gravity. It's slowing them down, but it's also interfering with their shields. Their strength is diminished, and if we can amplify this effect, we might just have a fighting chance." Carter nodded, his mind already calculating the best course of action. "How do we do it?" "It's not easy," Mitchell continued, "but we can develop a device that amplifies gravity in certain areas. We can use it to slow down their movements even more. If we target their landing zones, we might be able to trap them." "Let's do it," Carter said, without hesitation. His team had already proven they could fight back, and now it was time to take the offensive. "I'll lead the team to set the devices. You keep working on the tech." With a new mission in place, Carter and his soldiers sprinted through the wreckage, heading for key alien landing zones. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and outclassed in almost every way. But Earth's gravity had given them a fighting chance. It was the one thing the invaders had underestimated, and it was time to use it to their advantage. The team moved quickly, setting up crude anti-gravity devices at strategic points. These makeshift weapons would be used to further disrupt the alien forces. As the devices powered up, the soldiers watched from a distance. The first one activated, and the ground beneath the alien forces seemed to shimmer. Then, like a snap, the aliens began to falter. Their movements slowed as the amplified gravity gripped them even harder. "This is it," Carter muttered to himself as he watched the chaos unfold. The alien soldiers were now struggling to get back on their feet, their once imposing weapons rendered almost useless in their current state. They were now even more vulnerable than before. But the battle wasn't over. Voltaire, the ruthless alien general, watched from his command ship in orbit. He had seen the chaos on the ground and had been growing more furious by the minute. This was not the easy victory he had anticipated. His forces, despite their advanced tech, were failing in ways he could not have imagined. Earth's gravity was an unknown that was quickly becoming a powerful enemy. "Reinforcements. Now," Voltaire commanded, slamming his fist on his control panel. He would not let these primitive creatures think they could challenge his superiority. He had already lost too many of his soldiers to Earth's gravity, but he was determined to wipe humanity out. The countdown continued, and Voltaire's forces began to reorganize. He had his elite soldiers move in, those who were better equipped to handle the harsh conditions. They were trained for extreme environments, and their suits were reinforced to handle higher levels of gravity. But even these elite forces were struggling to adapt. They were more agile than the average soldier, but the amplified gravity made it difficult for them to perform at their peak. Meanwhile, Carter's team continued their guerrilla tactics. They struck from the shadows, using the environment to their advantage. They would hit an alien patrol, disable their shields with the gravity amplifiers, and retreat before the enemy could recover. The human resistance was becoming more organized, more effective. Carter could feel it. Earth's fightback was no longer just a desperate defense. It was an uprising. But as Voltaire's reinforcements arrived, the tension grew. The humans were holding their ground, but they were still vastly outnumbered. The alien general's patience was wearing thin. "You dare challenge me?" Voltaire spat into his communicator. "I will make your planet burn." The countdown to Earth's destruction continued, ticking down mercilessly. If the humans didn't find a way to end this invasion soon, Earth would be lost. The weight of the situation pressed on Carter's shoulders. He knew that the aliens would not give up, and they would continue to throw everything they had at Earth. The suspense was palpable. Would humanity be able to hold out long enough to turn the tide, or would the invaders crush them beneath their superior technology? With every passing minute, the stakes grew higher. Carter and his team knew that this wasn't just about survival. It was about taking back their home, and they would fight until their last breath. As the sun set over the ruined cities, the humans' resolve was stronger than ever. They had the advantage now, but the battle was far from over. And as the clock ticked down to the final moments, it was clear. Earth's gravity might just be the key to turning the tide in humanity's favor. The once bustling underground lab, now a dimly lit high-tech research facility, hummed with the energy of relentless scientists. They worked around the clock, analyzing the extraordinary nature of Earth's gravity, trying to make sense of its power. Dr. Sarah Mitchell, an expert in gravitational physics, stood before a massive screen, studying the data gathered from the field. Her team had already made a crucial breakthrough. Earth's gravity was unlike any they had seen before. The pull of gravity on this planet was not only strong, but it was also perfectly suited to create extreme stress on foreign biology. The alien soldiers, with their advanced suits and bio-augmentations, had been struggling from the moment they landed. But it was not just the weight of Earth's gravity that hindered them. The atmosphere itself, dense and filled with tiny particles, interfered with the aliens' technological systems. Their shields, once impenetrable, flickered and failed under the assault of Earth's air. Their weaponry, designed for use on lighter planets, was now unreliable. As Mitchell delved deeper into the data, she realized the true potential of Earth's gravity. It wasn't just a hindrance for the invaders, it was a weapon. Earth's atmosphere and gravity could exert intense pressure on the aliens' bodies and technology, slowly breaking them down. The aliens had made one critical mistake. They underestimated the environment of Earth. Mitchell, alongside a team of scientists, worked furiously to develop a way to amplify this gravity. If they could increase the gravitational pressure in key locations, they might be able to create an unmanageable situation for the aliens. But the challenge was huge. The technology required to manipulate gravity was complex, and it was uncharted territory for humans. They were developing the weapon in real time, learning from the alien force's weaknesses, and using their own ingenuity to level the playing field. The solution came when one of the scientists, Dr. Elias Vaughn, made a startling discovery. They could modify existing drones to carry and launch gravity amplifiers. These devices could increase the gravitational pressure in specific zones, effectively turning it into a weapon against the alien fleet. The drones, already built for reconnaissance and support, would be able to fly into enemy territory, place the amplifiers, and retreat before the aliens could respond. It was a risky strategy, but it was their only option. With no time to waste, the team quickly put their plan into action. The drones were equipped with the newly developed gravity amplifiers, each small enough to be deployed in a series of strategic locations across Earth. Mitchell looked over the plans, feeling a sense of urgency in her chest. This was the moment they had all been waiting for. Earth's survival rested on this new weapon. and the team had to get it right. Back in the field, Captain Alex Carter and his team were preparing for the next phase of the battle. The resistance had grown bolder since the discovery of Earth's gravitational advantage. Guerrilla tactics had been effective, but they needed more. The drones would help them turn the tide, creating a coordinated effort to disrupt the alien forces at their weakest points. Carter had been briefed on the gravity amplifiers, and although he knew how dangerous this next phase could be, he trusted the scientists' calculations. It was their best chance at survival. As the first drones launched into the air, the tension was palpable. Carter stood by a makeshift command center, his eyes fixed on the sky as the drones flew toward the alien zones. The ground trembled as the devices began to activate. The first shockwave rippled through the air, a heavy, unnatural wave of gravitational force. The effect was almost immediate. Alien ships that had been hovering just above the ground began to crash, unable to stay airborne under the pressure. Their cloaking shields flickered and shattered, and their advanced engines sputtered before giving out completely. The moment was a victory for the humans, but it was short-lived. The ground continued to shake as the first wave of alien ships was taken down, sending shockwaves through their ranks. Aliens on the ground struggled to maintain their footing, their advanced suits unable to compensate for the increased gravitational pressure. It was the perfect counterattack, one they never saw coming. But just as the humans began to feel a glimmer of hope, a new wave of enemy reinforcements descended from the sky. This time, the aliens had prepared. Voltaire, furious at the failure of his initial forces, had ordered the deployment of a new, more formidable wave. These reinforcements were equipped with enhanced armor and better-suited technology to handle the intense gravity. Their suits were reinforced to withstand the strain of Earth's atmosphere, and their weapons had been recalibrated to target gravity amplifiers specifically. They were prepared for the gravity-based assault, or so they thought. Carter watched as the new wave of aliens landed, their heavy boots hitting the ground with a force that shook the Earth beneath them. The ground had barely recovered from the initial shockwave when the new reinforced troops started moving forward. They were not disoriented like the first wave. Instead, they were efficient, their movements calculated. It was clear that the aliens had learned from their previous mistakes. The gravity amplifiers had caused significant damage, but the aliens were quickly adapting to the new environment. Voltaire had ordered his forces to use specialized anti-gravity equipment, allowing them to move more freely in the harsh conditions. The enhanced armor and tech had given them an edge, and they were beginning to push back. "We've made them retreat, but they're not gone," Carter said to his team. "They've adapted." Mitchell, still working in the lab, saw the new wave of alien forces pushing back. The gravity amplifiers had done their job, but the aliens were not defeated. "We need more power," she said urgently to her team. "We can't just rely on the amplifiers. We need to push the limits of Earth's gravity even further." The pressure was mounting. The humans had caused the first real damage to the invaders, but the battle was far from over. The countdown continued, and Voltaire's forces were becoming more aggressive. Every minute that passed brought the Earth closer to its destruction. Carter knew that time was running out. Earth's defenses were holding strong, but the aliens were relentless. The gravity amplifiers had given the humans an advantage, but it was clear that they needed to push harder. The real question now was whether humanity could maintain the upper hand. The aliens were adjusting quickly, and the war for Earth had entered its most dangerous phase. It was no longer just about survival. It was about fighting back with everything they had. As Carter looked toward the horizon, the weight of the situation pressed heavily on his mind. The first wave of alien ships had fallen, but the real fight had just begun. Earth's gravity had proven to be a formidable weapon, but would it be enough to turn the tide completely? The suspense was palpable, and every passing moment brought them closer to the final battle for Earth's future. The fate of the planet was in their hands. The war for Earth had reached its breaking point. Major cities like New York, Paris, and Tokyo were under siege as the alien forces tightened their grip on the planet. The once thriving streets were now war zones, filled with the sounds of explosions, gunfire, and chaos. The alien invaders, with their superior technology and enhanced armor, seemed unstoppable, but the human resistance, led by Captain Alex Carter, was not ready to surrender. The fate of Earth hung in the balance, and every human who fought had made it clear they would not go down without a fight. Captain Carter, with his battle-hardened team of soldiers, stood in the heart of New York, surveying the wreckage around him. The streets were scared by the destruction, the buildings reduced to rubble, but there was a glimmer of hope. Earth's gravity, once a disadvantage to the invading aliens, had now become their greatest weapon. The gravity-enhancing devices developed by the scientists were proving effective, slowing down the alien forces and making their advanced technology useless. The resistance had gained a foothold, but they knew the battle wasn't over yet. "Carter, we've got reports of enemy forces closing in on the Central Command." A voice crackled in Carter's earpiece. It was Lieutenant Sanchez, his second in command. "We need to make a move, or we'll lose control of the city." Carter's eyes hardened as he gave the order. "Get the team ready. We're going after their main force." The plan was set. Carter and his troops would launch a coordinated counterattack, using the gravity-enhancing devices to weaken the alien forces. The city was a maze of destruction, and the aliens were starting to adapt to the gravity shifts, but they were not yet fully equipped to handle the constant pressure Earth's environment placed on them. Carter's strategy was simple: disrupt their movements, slow them down, and hit them hard where they least expected. As the soldiers moved into position, Carter's heart raced with anticipation. The air was thick with tension, every step forward a risk. The gravity fields, activated by the human-made devices, disrupted the aliens' movements, causing their heavy armor to slow them down. The once unstoppable invaders were now struggling to maintain their footing. The humans took advantage of the situation, launching surprise attacks and ambushing the enemy at every turn. Guerrilla tactics had worked, but it was clear that they needed more. "Carter, we've got incoming," Sanchez shouted, breaking the tension. A series of alien ships descended from the sky, their engines humming with a deadly precision. It was clear that Voltaire had escalated the situation, bringing in a new wave of attackers to crush the humans' resistance. The sky turned black as the alien fleet unleashed its full power. But the humans weren't backing down. With their gravity-enhanced devices still in place, they fought back with everything they had. The battle had escalated to a new level. Alien ships loomed above the city, firing lasers that scorched the earth below. But the humans held their ground. It was then that the true nature of the alien threat revealed itself. High above the chaos, Voltaire's flagship positioned itself over Earth. The monstrous alien general, still furious over the resistance, gave the order: activate the orbital cannon. It's time to end this. The orbital cannon, a weapon of unimaginable power, aimed at the heart of Earth's surface. Voltaire, confident that his weapon would wipe out the human resistance, watched as the cannon charged up. It was only a matter of time before the humans would be wiped from existence. But Carter wasn't about to let that happen. He knew that if they didn't stop the orbital cannon, Earth would be doomed. The mission was clear: infiltrate the alien ship, disable the cannon, and take down Voltaire's forces. It was a suicide mission, but the humans had no other choice. "We're going in," Carter said, his voice steady but filled with determination. "We need to take out that cannon." He and his team used the modified cloaking technology that had been developed in secret. It was a last-ditch effort, a way to sneak past the alien defenses without being detected. The cloaking technology was a risky move, but it was their best shot. As the team boarded a small stealth ship, they soared toward the massive alien flagship, cloaked from sight. The closer they got to the alien ship, the more the tension built. The gravity in the area was incredibly heavy, and it made maneuvering through the atmosphere difficult. The alien forces, despite their superior technology, had not anticipated humans using cloaking technology. They managed to sneak past the defensive shields and landed on the flagship undetected. Once aboard, the team split into two groups. Carter led one team toward the orbital cannon, while Lieutenant Sanchez's team worked to disable the ship's power core. The countdown to activation of the orbital cannon was already ticking down, and every second counted. Inside the flagship, the team moved swiftly, taking out any alien guards who stood in their way. The close-quarters combat was brutal, the noise of gunfire echoing through the corridors. The humans were skilled, but the aliens were faster, stronger, and more numerous. It was a race against time. Every step forward brought them closer to the cannon, but the aliens were closing in on them as well. Finally, they reached the control room of the orbital cannon. Carter and his team fought their way through the doors, only to be confronted by a terrifying sight. Voltaire, the alien general, stood before them, his massive form looming over them. "You dare to challenge me?" Voltaire sneered, his voice cold and filled with rage. "You are nothing but insects beneath my boot." But Carter was undeterred. "We're not going anywhere. Not without a fight." A fierce battle erupted. Carter and his team used every weapon at their disposal, fighting with the desperation of men who knew that failure meant the end of everything. The close-quarters combat was chaotic, with aliens and humans alike exchanging blows. Voltaire, towering over them all, was a force to be reckoned with. His massive blade swung through the air, slicing through metal and flesh alike. As the battle raged on, one of Carter's closest friends, Bonner, charged at Voltaire, taking the alien general by surprise. He knew the stakes of this mission. If they didn't stop the cannon, Earth would be lost. Bonner, with his last ounce of strength, tackled Voltaire, buying his team enough time to plant explosives and disable the cannon. But it came at a cost. Bonner, overwhelmed by Voltaire's strength, was struck down, his sacrifice ensuring that the cannon would be destroyed. Carter watched in horror as his friend fell, but there was no time to mourn. The mission was still a success. The orbital cannon exploded in a massive burst of light, sending shockwaves throughout the ship. Voltaire's forces were thrown into disarray, and the humans managed to escape just as the flagship began to crumble. Bonner's death was a turning point for the human resistance. His sacrifice gave the humans a renewed sense of purpose. They had lost one of their own, but they had won a crucial victory. The fight was far from over, but they now had the hope that they could defeat the alien invaders. As the team returned to Earth, Carter stood over Bonner's body, the weight of his sacrifice heavy on his heart. The battle for Earth's survival had taken a tragic turn, but it had also brought them one step closer to victory. The humans were not done yet, and with Bonner's memory fueling their resolve, they would fight until the very end. The final battle for Earth had begun. The air was thick with tension as the remaining alien forces struggled to hold their ground against the relentless human resistance. The once powerful alien fleet, which had descended upon Earth with overwhelming force, was now nearly crippled. Most of their ships had either been destroyed or rendered useless by the gravity-enhancing devices the humans had cleverly deployed. Yet, despite this victory, the aliens were not yet defeated. The last remnants of Voltaire's forces had retreated to their command ship, positioned high above Earth's atmosphere. Captain Alex Carter and his team knew that if they were to have any chance of saving their world, they needed to confront Voltaire directly. "We've got one shot at this," Carter said, his voice steady, though every word carried the weight of the entire mission. "If we don't stop him now, Earth is done for. We push forward, no matter what." The final assault was set into motion. With the alien fleet in disarray, Captain Carter's team made their way toward Voltaire's massive command ship. They knew that this was their last chance, and the gravity of the situation was clear. Voltaire was no fool. He had one last trick up his sleeve, a weapon so powerful that it could tear Earth apart. As they approached the alien ship, the team could see the massive structure looming in space, covered in dark metal plating and adorned with alien technology. Voltaire's elite forces were waiting for them, a terrifying army of highly trained soldiers equipped with advanced weaponry. The humans had no choice but to push forward. The battle was now a fight for survival, one that would decide the fate of Earth itself. Carter's team boarded a stealth shuttle, using the last of their cloaking technology to approach the alien command ship undetected. They knew they were walking into the heart of the storm, but there was no turning back. As they drew closer, the shuttle's systems began to show signs of interference. The alien ship's gravity manipulation technology was stronger than anything they had encountered before, distorting the very fabric of space around them. It was as though the ship itself was alive, its energy reaching out to swallow them whole. "We're almost there," Carter said, gripping the controls tightly. "Get ready." The shuttle made its final approach, and as it passed through the last layer of alien defenses, the team disembarked, quickly finding cover behind wrecked alien drones. They moved silently, creeping through the corridors of the command ship, aware that Voltaire's elite soldiers were close. Every corner was a potential trap, every step a risk. The tension was palpable. "We're going to have to fight our way to Voltaire's control room," Lieutenant Sanchez said, scanning the surroundings. "There's no way around it." Carter nodded. "Then let's make sure we're ready." The team pushed forward, engaging in skirmishes with the alien soldiers at every turn. The aliens, despite their advanced technology, were still struggling with Earth's gravity, which had slowed them down and made their movements less precise. This gave the humans the advantage in close-quarters combat. The battle was intense, with explosions shaking the very walls of the ship as each side fought for control. As they reached the final stretch of the journey, they encountered Voltaire's personal guard, an elite group of soldiers specially trained to protect the alien general. The battle that ensued was brutal. Voltaire's guard was relentless, and their strength was overwhelming. But Carter's team was just as determined, knowing that failure meant the end of Earth. The fight raged on, with each human soldier giving everything they had. It was a bloody, exhausting conflict, and the human team was starting to show signs of wear. But the thought of Earth's survival kept them going, pushing through the pain and fatigue. "Keep moving," Carter shouted, firing his weapon and taking down another alien soldier. "We can't stop now." The team pressed on, slowly but surely making their way to the heart of the alien ship. They could feel the weight of their mission growing heavier with each passing moment. The control room, where Voltaire was preparing to launch his final, most destructive weapon, was just ahead. Inside the control room, Voltaire stood at the center of his command console, his cold eyes scanning the screens before him. He knew that the humans were closing in on him, but it didn't matter. His victory was all but assured. The final stage of his plan was already in motion. "Activate the gravity manipulator," Voltaire ordered, his voice booming through the control room. His troops obeyed without hesitation. The large device, capable of manipulating the gravitational pull of an entire planet, hummed to life. Voltaire was preparing to use it to pull Earth's core out of its orbit, a cataclysmic event that would destroy the planet in an instant. It was a desperate measure, but one that he was willing to take. After all, if he could not have Earth, no one would. As Voltaire turned to look at the approaching humans, a sinister smile crept across his face. "You fought valiantly, humans," he said coldly. "But this is where your journey ends." Just as he prepared to launch the final assault, the ground beneath him shook. The gravity manipulation device hummed with a powerful energy, and for a moment, Voltaire's confidence faltered. He looked down at the control panel, confused. The device was working, but not the way he had intended. "What is this?" Voltaire shouted, his voice tinged with panic. The humans had managed to reverse the gravity field inside the ship, amplifying the pull of Earth's gravity to unprecedented levels. The alien general was now caught in the same gravitational force that had already brought so many of his soldiers to their knees. Voltaire's powerful frame struggled against the pull, his movement slowing as the intense pressure of Earth's gravity crushed down on him. The ship's core, destabilized by the sudden shift in gravitational force, began to tremble violently. Voltaire was trapped, unable to escape. His elite soldiers, who had once been so formidable, were now struggling to move, their heavy armor pulling them to the ground. The once mighty general was now just another victim of Earth's gravity, his own weapon turned against him. "We did it," Sanchez whispered in awe, as they watched Voltaire struggle to maintain control. But the battle was far from over. As the ship began to implode under the strain of the gravity shift, the remaining alien forces scrambled to survive. Voltaire, however, was finished. The once feared general was now a mere shell of his former self, his pride shattered along with his fleet. The humans didn't waste a moment. They activated their escape pods, launching themselves away from the disintegrating command ship just as it began to collapse in a fiery explosion. The alien threat was over. Voltaire's empire had fallen. As Carter and his team watched from a safe distance, the massive alien ship burned up in Earth's atmosphere. The battle had been won. Earth was saved. But the victory came at a great cost. Many lives had been lost, and the scars of the war would remain for years to come. Yet in this moment of triumph, there was a bittersweet feeling. Earth had been pushed to its limits, but the resilience of its people had prevailed. As Carter looked out over the planet, the blue orb slowly coming back into view, he knew that humanity had proven something to the galaxy. They weren't just survivors. They were warriors, and they would never be underestimated again. 1 year had passed since the final battle for Earth, and the scars of war were still evident across the planet. The streets were littered with the remnants of once great cities, now reduced to rubble. Towering skyscrapers had collapsed, leaving behind nothing but twisted metal and shattered glass. The air, once thick with the sounds of traffic and life, was now eerily quiet. Yet, amidst the destruction, there was a sense of quiet hope. Earth had won, but the victory had come at a great cost. Captain Alex Carter stood in the middle of the wreckage of what had once been a bustling city. The sun hummed low in the sky, casting long shadows over the ruins. He was joined by Dr. Sarah Mitchell, the scientist who had played a key role in discovering Earth's gravity advantage. Together, they gazed out at the stars, their minds filled with the memory of the war they had survived. Earth's victory had sent shockwaves throughout the galaxy. The once mighty Galactic Council, which had scoffed at the idea of humanity ever becoming a threat, had been forced to confront their own arrogance. They had underestimated Earth's strength, both in terms of technology and spirit. Now the Council's leaders were issuing a formal apology to humanity, acknowledging their mistake and promising never to make such a mistake again. "They didn't believe in us," Carter said quietly, his voice reflecting the weight of the past year. "But now they have no choice." Dr. Mitchell nodded. "The galaxy has learned what Earth is capable of, and they've learned it the hard way." As they stood there, looking out at the horizon, the memories of the battle flooded back. The fear, the uncertainty, the endless fighting. It was all still fresh in their minds. But it was the bravery of the soldiers who had given everything that would be remembered. It was their sacrifices that had turned the tide in humanity's favor. The loss of friends and comrades, like Bonner, still stung, but their deaths had not been in vain. Earth had been saved. The sound of footsteps behind them signaled the arrival of a small group of soldiers, their faces weary but proud. It was time for the memorial. A solemn procession was held in the heart of what had once been one of the most vibrant cities on Earth. Now it was a place of remembrance. The names of the fallen were read aloud, one by one. Bonner, Lieutenant Sanchez, and all the brave men and women who had fought alongside Carter were honored for their courage. Their names would never be forgotten. The memorial was simple, but it was powerful. Each name was a reminder of the human spirit, of the will to survive, to fight, and to protect what mattered most. Carter stood at the front of the memorial, his expression unreadable. He had lost so many people, friends, soldiers, even family. But he had never doubted their resolve. Earth had won because of them. Their sacrifices had given humanity the strength to rise up against an unbeatable enemy. "We honor the fallen," Carter said, his voice carrying across the crowd. "But we also honor their legacy. We are stronger because of them. We will never forget what they gave us, and we will never let anyone forget who we are." The crowd fell silent, each person lost in their own thoughts. The weight of their victory was not lost on anyone. Humanity had proven itself to the galaxy. They were no longer a target for ridicule, no longer seen as weak and unworthy of respect. Earth's gravity, once considered a disadvantage, had become a symbol of strength, a reminder that the smallest of planets could stand against the greatest of powers. As the memorial ended, Carter and Mitchell walked away from the crowd, their minds still heavy with the past. The war had changed everything. The way they saw the world, the way they saw each other, it had all shifted. But it was a change that had been necessary. Earth's place in the galaxy had been secured, but the cost was undeniable. And as much as they had gained, there was a feeling of emptiness that lingered in the air. "I can't help but wonder," Carter said, his voice quiet. "How many more battles will we have to fight before they truly understand us? Before they realize that Earth is not a place to be taken lightly?" Mitchell shook her head. "We've already shown them what we're capable of. Now we just have to keep proving it, over and over again." Carter smiled faintly. "I guess that's what it means to be human." As they walked through the ruined city, they saw people rebuilding. Children played among the ruins, their laughter echoing in the air. It was a small sign of life returning to the planet, but it was a hopeful one. Despite everything that had been lost, Earth was rebuilding, and it was stronger than ever before. Later that night, as Carter lay in bed, staring at the stars through his window, he couldn't help but think about the journey Earth had been through. He had seen humanity at its lowest, facing certain extinction at the hands of a powerful alien race, and he had seen humanity at its highest, overcoming the odds and securing its place among the stars. It had been a long, hard road, but they had made it. They laughed at Earth's gravity, Carter whispered to himself, the words a reminder of everything they had fought for. Now they'll never forget it. As the night stretched on, the stars continued to shine brightly above. Earth had made its mark in the galaxy. And though the future was uncertain, one thing was clear: humanity had earned its place among the stars, and no one would ever underestimate them again.